Tigers win at 37-17 on senior night in a chilly Tiger Stadium. I thought it was an excellent performance by LSU offensively and defensively, and, of course, on special teams because you get that huge play. The entire complexion of that game on Saturday shifted over the course of about 5 minutes of real time because there was a point after Robinson goes in for a two-yard score, and Oklahoma has just gone 75 yards in 3 plays to take a 4-point lead on LSU, and Garrett Nussmeier is in the locker room. So you've seen LSU's offense without Nussmeier, not very good, and you don't know if he's going to come back in the game, and LSU's now losing. So it looked awful. Nussmeier emerges from the locker room. He's got his shoulder pads on. He's got his helmet on. And you can tell he's going to go back in this game. And then Aaron Anderson houses the kickoff return 100 yards. And you now have your quarterback back, and you're leading. And all that happened in a very, very short window of time. And from that point, LSU flat dominated Oklahoma. The defense only allowed a field goal more. The offense hit some explosive plays to Chris Hilton for a pair of touchdowns. They went on a couple of long scoring drives that ended in field goals. And it was really a complete effort from all the phases of LSU's team. Keep in mind, LSU's offense created 30 points in this game. They got 7 more from Aaron Anderson. And we talked about this last week. Oklahoma's defense is good. They've got a really good run defense. They create a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They hit Garrett Nussmeier early and often in this game. But LSU ran the ball well and threw the ball well on a good Oklahoma front. In the end, statistically, Nussmeier, 22 of 31, 277 yards, 3 touchdowns. LSU on the ground was very good, 110 yards, had the big bust from Caden Durham. I'm a little bit disappointed that Caden Durham busts that 50-yarder, and still he gets 11 carries and Josh Williams gets 13, but that's okay because LSU moved the ball when they needed to on the ground, and they absolutely did a great job through the air, and you got Chris Hilton involved finally in the deep game. And that was probably the most encouraging piece of the offensive performance, I thought, from LSU, that you got Chris Hilton going in the vertical game because that is something LSU simply has not had. We heard Brian Kelly talk about this 2 weeks ago. He said teams are squatting on our short and intermediate routes, and we're not stretching the field enough. And LSU was trying that a lot early in the season. In the Ole Miss game, Garrett Nussmeier threw 17 passes that traveled 15-plus yards. But somewhere along the line, they got to be too reliant on the very short passing game. We gave you that statistic that Garrett Nussmeier's completions were averaging just over 3 yards per throw after the Florida game. Like, it was just a broken offense from that perspective. And Hilton offers the deep threat. You've got some talented guys at wide receiver. Kyron Lacey can give you something in one-on-one matchups. He's got great ball control, body control. He's a good wide receiver. Aaron Anderson's explosive. Xavier Thomas can make people miss in space. Mason Taylor's great in the short passing game. But none of those guys offer exactly what Chris Hilton does because he is the fastest dude on the field the second he steps out there. And because of the guys in front of him last year and then injuries the years previous to that and this one, he just hasn't had the opportunity to get out there and play. And you saw what he can do to a defense when you don't respect the deep ball. Make big plays, 2 touchdowns of 40-plus yards. Nussmeier was surgical after he came back. He completed his first 10 throws after returning to the game. Really did a nice job of dissecting that Oklahoma secondary that has really good players in it. And I thought offensively LSU was very, very good. To score 30 points plus the 7 special teams on that defense was excellent. And then LSU pitches a shutout in the second half of that game against Oklahoma. And I'll tell you that I thought some of the most encouraging pieces to what LSU did in that shutout were guys that you expect to help next year. I had to use this caveat on the postgame show, and I will use it again here because I can't, in confidence, name any player that will definitely be on LSU's football team next season. I can't. But we're just going to work off of assumptions until we know. My assumption is that Whit Weeks will be back. He made 15 tackles. 9 of them were solo, 2 TFLs, had a hurry, forced a fumble, looked fast and active and all over the field. Devon Keys was second on LSU's team in tackles. He had 10. He played more snaps in the game than Major Burns did. And we thought that was coming in games against run-heavy offenses in Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. Probably going to see more linebacker play instead of star play. And Devon Keys, I thought, played an awesome game. Had a tackle for loss, had a sack, looked really good. He's a freshman. 2 sacks from Dominic McKinley in this game. That's a guy who was given SEC Freshman of the Week award today and has played more and more as the season's gone on and is starting to figure some things out. He figures to be a big piece of what you're trying to do on defense next year. You had Tylen Singleton out there. You had Dylan Carpenter out there. Javian Toviano was out there. Ahmad Bro had a half a tackle for loss. All of these guys are guys that LSU figures to count on in a defense next year. That was the most encouraging thing to me about this game. Oklahoma basically couldn't do anything offensively after halftime. They just didn't have anything to lean on. They could not run the ball. Their passing offense was really disjointed. It didn't seem like Jackson Arnold could ever just take the snap, back into the pocket, and go to work. He was constantly running for his life. Savion Jones did a great job in that game. He had 5 hurries and a quarterback hit. Then you had Braden Swinson, who had 6 quarterback hurries and a quarterback hit. Arnold was constantly dropping back and then looking where he could run. That's really all he had. That worked pretty well against Alabama. It did not work well against LSU. If you look at the drives that Oklahoma had after halftime, they had a 6-play, 20-yard drive where they punted. They had the inexplicably stupid interception that the tight end threw. No concept of just kind of eating that one going down. Instead, you just fling it up in the air for anybody to run under. Sage Ryan won't ever have an easier interception in his life, but that was the next drive. Then they had a 3-and-out where they lost 7 yards and punted. Then they turned the ball over on downs. And then you had the last drive that they went 79 yards, but it ended the game. So it was just, I thought, complete domination from LSU's defense in the second half. And that's honestly what you were going to have to do for this to be a passable effort, because Oklahoma's offense has been anemic all year. They got set up with short fields in the game against Alabama, and they cashed some of those in. If you didn't do that, which LSU didn't, then it was going to be difficult for Oklahoma to move the ball, and they didn't. So LSU offensively controlled the pace, controlled the tempo, controlled the clock, controlled the yards, and put up points. And defensively, you put the clamps on Oklahoma. I thought it was a very complete effort from LSU, something they've kind of been searching for all year. They were pretty good against Vanderbilt. I thought they were better in this game against Oklahoma, just about from start to finish. You had a blip in there where the quarterback went down and you gave a touchdown drive up. But other than that, it was pretty good. Would I like Garrett Nussmeier to hold on to the football, not fumble it for a scoop and score? Yes. But on the flip side of that, if you've noticed, he has not thrown an interception in the last 3 games. I wrote a story up at LouisianaSports.net today that talked about some guys that have draft day decisions coming up. If you'd like to read that, you can do it for free on LouisianaSports.net. But one of the statistics that I gave in that piece was that Nussmeier, in his last 115 attempts, has not thrown an interception. I think that would qualify as some growth. Now, turnovers are turnovers, so giving up the strip sack, it hurts. But I think that you've seen some growth from him, and I think that he played really good football in the last 2 games. That was gritty and tough and gutty and all those cliche phrases, but he was tough, and he went back in the game, and I thought played really, really well in the second half. So tough to find a ton to be overly critical of with this one. Oklahoma's not a great football team. There's a reason they only won 2 league games, but you take that on senior day and you finish the season 8-4. That's kind of my reaction to the game. Now there's a bigger picture discussion that's got to be had, which is where's the program? What did Brian Kelly have to say post-game? And what do we now look back on this season? Because make no mistake, like there's nothing else that can be accomplished by this team. I am not even going to try to pretend to sell you a bill of goods on this bowl game. Not going to do it. Those things have completely lost their value. I did the same thing last year. And then when it was announced that Jaden Daniels wasn't going to play, I said, okay, I'm really just interested in how Nussmeier looks. I don't even care if they win or lose. Turns out he looked good and they won, so that's happy hunky-dory. But I don't care about the results of the bowl game. I can't tell you who's going to play in it, who cares about it, where it's going to be, who's it going to be against. This team's done accomplishing what they're going to accomplish. And in the end, you win a game at South Carolina, you win a game against Ole Miss, you go 8-4. That's the discussion we've got to have. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.